Thank you for attending this webinar. We are glad to have you with us for this International Trade Initiative webinar on manufacturing and international finance. I'm your moderator, Jenny Alton from the New York Small Business Development Center Central Office. This webinar is brought to you by the International Trade Initiative of the New York Small Business Development Center. The NYSBDC is a U.S. Small Business Administration resource partner with regional offices and other outreach offices at locations across New York State. And all of our regional main centers are at higher education institutions around the state. Our free advising, education, research, and advocacy services are made possible by funding from the SBA, New York State, and our host campuses. Today, we have a fantastic group of presenters for you. We'll start out with Dr. Mercedes Sanchez-Moore, who is our own Director of International Trade here at the NYSBDC. And then we will hear from a group of wonderful people from M&T Bank. So we've got Ben Levy, Senior Vice President, Relationship Manager at M&T, and then Mary Stone, Senior Vice President, SBA Lending Manager, and Eileen O'Day, Senior Vice President, Capital Markets, International Trade Finance. Hope I got all of those right. And then from Global New York, we have Molly Bauer, and she is the Deputy Director there. So you know, we are recording today. We will share links to the recording and a PDF copy of the slides in a follow-up email. Attendees are muted and will not be on camera. Your chats will be visible to me and our presenters, and I will make sure that our chat is functioning here in just a moment. If you have questions regarding today's material, please don't hesitate to type them in the chat or the Q&A box as they come up. I will keep track of those throughout the presentation. You can open those features from the bottom of your Zoom window. There is a button for the Q&A and a button for the chat. And we will address these questions in a Q&A session at the end of all of our presentation material. All right, I think that takes care of all of the housekeeping and general introductions. And so, Mercedes, I will turn the time now over to you.
Thank you, Jenny, for your kind introduction. And welcome everyone to our webinar, Manufacturing and International Finance. I'm going to provide a brief introduction about the New York Small Business Development Center and the services of our international trade program that I lead. The New York SBDC, as Jenny said, is a partnership of the U.S. Small Business Administration, SUNY, the City University of New York State, higher education institutions, and the private sector. The SBDC provides one-to-one business advisement, training, and research in support of entrepreneurship and economic development for the state of New York. The International Trade Initiative is a special program within the New York SBDC network, which is housed and part of the SUNY network of 20 regional centers and 72 outreach and satellite offices. 98% of the population of the state of New York is within 30 minutes of an SBDC service location. The New York SBDC International Trade Initiative supports SBDC clients statewide with expertise and experience on international trade and trade compliance. We also provide SBDC staff with professional development, increasing trade advising capabilities statewide. All of our services are free, customized, and 100% confidential. We help small and medium-sized companies become globally competitive by providing export development and import operations assistance through one-to-one trade consulting, market research, and innovative training and links to additional export resources provided by our partners, Global New York, present here today, the U.S. Commercial Service of the Department of Commerce, the Small Business Administration, Exim Bank, and other public and private organizations. The New York SBDC can help your business become a successful competitor in foreign markets by helping you plan and implement your export strategy. We are available to assist retailers, manufacturers, high technology, and even services companies with export planning and other areas such as export readiness reviews, export business plan, targeting international markets, selecting sales and distribution channels, legal considerations, logistic and documentation, market research and trade statistics, and international financing, which is the topic of today's webinar. The New York SBDC is the only public agency that helps companies with questions about import operations. We provide education and assistance on the basics of importing. We also help companies classify their goods and share updates on tariffs and the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA tariff refund process. We always recommend working with licensed custom brokers and attorneys, and we connect our clients with these professionals. We advise clients on import regulations affecting specific products, including foods that have strict FDA requirements and certification of overseas facilities. We also guide businesses on logistic and importing documentation, and in addition, we assist with market research and trade statistics, as well as access to international financing solutions for importers. I would like to provide some information about why U.S. companies should export. Many companies think that the U.S. market is big enough for them, but actually, 95% of global buying power is outside the United States. Forward-thinking small and medium-sized companies can tap this demand and boost revenue through exporting. Every year, U.S. firms export over $3 trillion of goods and services. Exporting works for businesses of all sizes. 97% of exporters are small and medium-sized companies, and 67% have fewer than 20 employees. There are many benefits of exporting, and some of them are exporting companies grow faster than non-exporters, they are more resilient to economic downturns, and they are 8.5% less likely to go out of business. They gain more diversified sales base, creating more revenue streams, new growth opportunities, and higher productivity. And they also see greater innovation in product design and application. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the first speaker of today's program, the team from MIT Bank, formed by Ben Levy, Mary-Ammielle, and Eileen O'Day. The presentation, Understanding Trade Finance, Payment Methods, and Risk Management, will provide a valuable insight into financial tools that help companies successfully navigate international transactions. Ben, please go ahead with your presentation.
Thank you, Mercedes. Thank you, Jenny, as well, for having our M&T team today. We really appreciate the opportunity to be in front of this audience. What we're going to do before we get into our presentation, we're just going to do a quick introduction of our backgrounds here at the bank. So I'm going to start. It's nice to meet everyone. I've been with the bank for 24 years. I live in the Rochester, New York market. I attended Binghamton University many years ago. I've been in banking since 2002. Previously, I was on the investment side of the house at another institution, and I moved back to the Rochester area just after 9/11. We have a portfolio of clients across industries with a specific focus on manufacturing, specialty trades, contractors, healthcare, and many others. Before we get into our presentation, I want to hand it over to Mary so she can introduce herself.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us today, and thank you to Jenny and Mercedes for having us. I'm Mary Stone. I'm our SBA, Small Business Administration Lending Manager here at the bank. My team oversees all SBA lending across our 12-state footprint. We are a top 10 nationally ranked lender, supporting over 2,700 small businesses over the course of last year's fiscal year. Our average loan size is $110,000, so we're incredibly proud of the small business community we serve. Myself, I live in Rochester, New York as well, proud to be born and raised here. I've been with M&T for just coming up on 10 years, and I've spent about 6 of those years in the SBA space. Thanks again for the time. I'll turn it over to Eileen.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. Good morning. And thank you, Jenny and Mercedes, for having us today. So my name is Eileen O'Day, and I've been in the trade finance industry for about 19 years now, starting my career at Bank of America in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from. and then later moved to Connecticut, where I live now, working in a smaller regional bank called People's United Bank, which eventually is now M&T Bank. And in my career, I've worked at all various levels in trade finance, to entry level to a specialist, a supervisor to a manager. And now, where I am here at M&T, I work directly in the product and sales position for trade finance, where I work with all of our clients in our footprint, our clients and the relationship managers, to basically familiarize our clients with the trade finance products and best options for their business. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Eileen and Mary. Jenny, next slide, please. Thanks. So everyone, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the bank before we start getting into SBA programs and international trade solutions that could help your business grow. So just a little bit, M&T by the numbers. We have over 1,000 branches across our footprint, 22,000 employees, 212 billion in total assets, and we are a top 25 U.S. bank by assets. The bank was started and founded in Buffalo, New York in 1856. So we're a New York-based bank. Another hub and home for us also is in our Baltimore, Maryland market. I don't know if everyone knows, M&T stands for manufacturers and traders. So we're right in our wheelhouse when we start talking about how we help clients both domestically and internationally. We're providing great support in the communities that we serve and providing our clients with financial stability and flexibility. So just some quick highlights. We're one of the 15th largest U.S.-owned commercial banks in the country. We have superior profitability and dividend growth over many different economic cycles, which include recessions and other downturns, and we've weathered that. We're a disciplined and efficient operator. We're a prudent steward of shareholder capital. Our growth is driven by relentless focus on customers, talent, and delivering innovative capabilities. Another point of highlight that I wanted to touch on was our relationship management focus at the bank. So we very much like to provide custom solutions to our clients, learn about their individual businesses, as Mary talked about, just in the SBA space. Every business has cash flow needs, international trade and domestic needs, but they also have unique stories to tell. We love hearing the unique stories. We love being involved in our communities. So next, I'm going to just touch on our community focus. So over 67 million in total community impact. We've helped over 4,000 nonprofit organizations in the communities that we serve at this time. That's through volunteerism, grants, sponsorships, and contributions. All three of our M&T team members on the call today, we all serve on various nonprofit boards and get involved in the communities that we serve. The bank is great about providing us 40 hours of community service that we can use every year for any organization. We really love giving back to the communities that we live in. We also travel to other communities and help there. So just because we're in a certain geography, we have rides, bike rides, marathons, runs, different organizations that we love to help. We are a top 10 SBA lender in the communities that we serve, which Mary's going to touch on in a little bit. And we're a top lender nationally going back to 2009. In New York State, we also are achieving our highest possible Community Reinvestment Act rating. That's awarded by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York going back to 1982. That's a really important metric that the bank focuses on, and getting involved in the communities that we serve and achieving that Reinvestment Act rating. That's so important to us, especially with our audience here in New York State. So that's a little bit about our story. You heard about our backgrounds at the bank, and now I'm going to turn it over to Mary Stone, and she's going to get into our SBA programs. Thank you.
Sven. Hey everyone. I'm so excited to be here today and speak a little bit about SBA, our Small Business Administration lending programs. What we'll start with is a basic 101 on what to expect when you engage with SBA lending. I know we've got a wide variety of participants on the line, so some participants might be familiar with these programs. Some participants might love this 101 entry-level information regarding SBA lending. I'll end my slides with speaking a little bit about the new MARC loan program, the Manufacturing Access to Revolving Capital loan program that the SBA began offering in early October 2025. So a little bit about the SBA. The SBA has been around for decades. And the goal of the SBA is to provide new and existing businesses access to capital to start their business, expand their business, restructure their business that they may not otherwise qualify for under conventional banking terms. So I want to take a step back and call out what that might mean. A lending institution will look at a client and determine if they're creditworthy, right? And if they should have access to the capital they need under their credit policy. However, there may be inherent risks that exist. So some examples might be a startup business or a business that lacks that experience, so operations 2 years or less. A business that lacks collateral. I always give an example of our service-based businesses, right? Think of your mom and pop deli. The collateral associated with that business might be some freezers, fridges, and some deli machines, right? Not much collateral. High-risk industries. So think your mom and pop type bars, restaurants, breweries, Main Street businesses that are inherently risky to engage with. The SBA can also offer alternative terms to conventional lending, such as longer maturities. Whatever those inherent risk factors might be, the lender can utilize the SBA Guaranteed Loan Program to provide access to capital to that small business while still maintaining comfortability under their credit infrastructure. Most SBA loans offer a 50 or a 75% guarantee under the 7A loan program. For example, if a business is offered a $100,000 line of credit and something goes wrong and the business is unable to pay that back, with a 50% guarantee, the lender is at a credit loss of $50,000, but the SBA will support that other 50%. So the bank was comfortable providing that riskier loan. Many lenders have PLP authority, which stands for Preferred Lender Program. This means the lender has authority to act on behalf of the SBA and approve loans, what we call in-house, meaning the lender does not have to go to the SBA and ask for SBA approval. We're proud here at M&T to be one of those PLP lenders in the program. We've supported the SBA loan program for decades, over 50 years. So we're incredibly familiar with the SBA loan program and the ins and outs. All right, Jenny, I'll move us to the next slide. So it wouldn't be a Mary Stone presentation without kicking us off with some celebration. So I'd love to share on the line a little bit about M&T as it relates to SBA lending. As Ben and I both called out, we are a nationally recognized SBA lender. So what that means is M&T Bank supports lending across our 12-state footprint. We lend up to Maine, across really most of the east down to West Virginia area. We finished last fiscal year 2025 as the number 7th SBA lender in the nation, which was our 17th consecutive year in the top 10. We produced over 2,700 loans, so supporting over 2,700 small businesses, totaling almost $300 million in lending. But as I called out earlier, our average loan size is just about $110,000, demonstrating our commitment to the true mom and pop small businesses. I know we're here in New York, so I'll call out we were number 1 in the Buffalo district, the Syracuse district, and number 3 in the Metro or New York City district. And you can see our additional district rankings listed on the slide below. I'm going to jump in next into some information about M&T and SBA lending, but I appreciate all your time here, and we're incredibly proud of the commitments we demonstrate across New York State when it comes to SBA lending. So Jenny, we can move ahead to the next slide. All right, so let's get in the weeds a little bit about some of the benefits of SBA lending and requirements when it comes to SBA lending. Today, we'll be focused on the SBA 7A loan program. This is both term and revolving lending opportunities, and these loan programs can be up to $5 million of the SBA lending cap. So while we don't have a lower level threshold, typically loans start at $5,000 and can go up to, again, that cap at $5 million. This can be for a variety of use of proceeds or a use of the loan, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. As I referenced at the beginning of the program, high-risk industries are absolutely eligible. Commonly here at M&T, we lend to restaurants, we lend to breweries, we lend to mom and pop grocery stores, healthcare services, personal care services, laundromats, you name it. From the most unique business idea you can conceptualize, the SBA is here to support those small businesses. What's great when it comes to SBA lending is that flexibility in use of funds. So we'll be spending the latter half of the webinar speaking a little bit about international finance, and that's something the SBA can absolutely support, as well as manufacturing. Again, the SBA loan programs may offer different repayment terms than traditional bank loans, which could include longer terms or more flexibility when it comes to payment structure. One of the great highlights when it comes to payment structure and the SBA is there are no prepayment penalties for terms 15 years and less. You heard that right. No prepayment terms. So when you're starting up your business and you need that access to capital, you can have confidence as I ramp up my business and get into year 2 and 3, and maybe I have that access to capital that I didn't have 3 years ago. That prepayment concern won't come into play. We don't have those prepayment penalties for 15 years or less terms. Again, I'll highlight new and established businesses can apply. I always love to myth bust this fact when I'm out and about in the community. I'll hear folks call out, well, I thought we couldn't obtain SBA lending for startups. Well, there may be lenders that do not lend to startups. SBA is absolutely open for business for startups. We can lend to businesses who have not yet opened their doors 6 months in and need a boost in access to capital. Or we can lend to businesses going through succession planning and selling their business to the next generation to run the operation. An important call out when it comes to SBA is the program is only offered to for-profit businesses. Non-for-profit businesses are not eligible for SBA lending. And the programs must meet SBA eligibility requirements. Now, this is a huge umbrella that could involve many different types of eligibility requirements. Well, we don't have all day here on this webinar, and I certainly don't have all day to walk through all of the eligibility requirements. What I'll call out is it's important to work with an educated lender who will walk you, the borrower, through what those eligibility requirements are and how to navigate them to ensure the business is eligible for SBA lending. These requirements can be anywhere from citizenship requirements to past due federal debt requirements to as simple as occupancy within a leased space. So the requirements are vast and can be cumbersome to work through, and that's where having an educated lender is key in the process. The last item I'll call out is that you must meet SBA size standards, which includes affiliated businesses. So it's, again, the SBA, Small Business Administration Program. So the SBA has size standards for each industry. It's driven by NAICS code to determine and ensure that small businesses are obtaining the access to capital available within the program. Don't worry, there's not a test at the end of this webinar, and it calls out the crucial nature of selecting your lender and ensuring it can navigate you through the process. Jenny, I'll turn us to the next slide and just go over some of the different uses of proceeds that the SBA 7A loan program can be utilized for. First and foremost, our most common utilization of proceeds is short-term working capital. We utilize short-term working capital for those small dollar expenses that tend to be cyclical. Think your inventory, payroll, accounts receivable. Permanent working capital is absolutely an option as well. This is less cyclical, but still that small dollar need. This might be small equipment, less than $5,000. It might be marketing expenses, ramp up to rent expenses, those startup expenses, we like to call them. SBA programs can be used for equipment. So think machinery, vehicles, tools. This could be a fixed equipment, large scale equipment, which we'll talk about manufacturing next. SBA proceeds can be used for leasehold improvements, which is improving your leased space, furniture, fixtures, and a fixed equipment. Think of that franchise I called out at the beginning of the seminar, right? That deli franchise. We can absolutely utilize our loan proceeds to fit up that location to ensure it meets those franchise requirements, and we'd call that leasehold improvements. We can utilize SBA loan proceeds for debt refinancing, helping to improve cash flow by refinancing existing debt and putting that business in a better position to support its clients, customers, and longevity. Commercial real estate is always an option. And then those general categories, startup expenses, expanding the business. And I saved the best for last, business acquisitions. We can absolutely finance business acquisitions, whether it be in the restaurant industry to manufacturing to international finance and beyond. We can absolutely support businesses with their succession planning and selling or purchasing their next operation. All right, I'll finish up our SBA information with talking a little bit about the MARC loan program. So Jenny, if you can flip to the next slide, we'll speak a little bit about this program. It's been on the tip of everyone's tongue, and I'm sure that's why a few of you have joined this webinar, hearing a little bit more about the MARC, Manufacturers Access to Revolving Credit Loan Program. This loan program was launched by the SBA to align with the Made in America initiative. The program went live October 1st of 2025, so we're just about 6 months into offering the program. M&T is a proud participant of the MARC loan program, and I'll share a little bit about some of the clients we've seen engage with the program or share an interest. This program is positioned to help manufacturers grow and obtain access to flexible working capital to scale their operations and take on new customers. This program is available to small businesses engaged in manufacturing, and that's driven by the NAICS code on the federal tax return. This program is revolving lines of credit up to $5 million, which can be used for working capital needs. These revolving lines have a maturity of up to 20 years with both a draw period and a term out period. The ease of this program is what I'd love to highlight. This program does not require a monthly asset-based lending component or a cumbersome servicing requirement. This program aligns with lenders and their commercially reasonable monitoring responsibilities, which is a fantastic benefit to our manufacturers and makes the utilization of this program streamlined, easy, and gets you the access to capital you need. So I'll end with an example client that we've engaged with here at M&T. We had a manufacturer approach us who was looking to grow their operations onshore. They're in the Maryland area, and expand their operations. But to do so and engage with the additional clients, they needed to expand not only their workforce, but purchase inventory in bulk to support those orders. By offering the MARC loan program, the manufacturer's access to revolving capital, that revolving line, the client was able to draw on that line to upfront fund that payroll needed to get those orders out, as well as the bulk inventory. Once those orders were fulfilled and the contract was paid in full, right, the client was able to pay off that MARC loan program balance and continue to use that MARC line in a cyclical basis to support clients, scaling up their operation by almost 200%. Incredible results there. We're really proud of how we're able to support our clients. We're taking questions at the end, but feel free to throw them in the chat now. I really appreciate the time and support and opportunity to share a little bit about SBA lending. My favorite part of what I do is getting to know small businesses, watching them grow, succeed, and even reaching the point of succession planning throughout the SBA loan program. So I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Eileen, to talk a little bit about international finance.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. Good morning. All right, so we'll get started. Just if you could flip to the next slide so I can, go back. Thank you so much. So there is a lot of words on this slide, but what I'll do is I'll just kind of talk through the trade finance products and explain them. And then if, you could read the more detailed wording, I guess, if on a later time. But so overall, high level overview of the trade finance product set. So there's two sides to this product. There's commercial/commerce side of it, and then the standby. So I'll first dive into the standby product side. So overall, banks in general, we have a very large volume of standby LCs on our books, right? And M&T is no exception. So standby letters of credit, they make up the majority of the letters of credit that we've issued and committed to. And the purpose of a standby letter of credit, it could be used for a number of reasons. So construction companies can utilize standby letters of credit, towns and cities, or various projects that a beneficiary and their domestic or international customer may need to take out for their benefit and the securitization of a particular project. So as I said, standby letters of credit, that makes up a large book of our business here at M&T. We only are able to issue all letters of credit for customers only, so that when we are issuing the letter of credit for you in benefit of your beneficiary, we are able to do that either cash securing the standby LC or margining it under your line, right? So how does a standby LC work? What's the purpose of it? So our customer would come to us saying, we need a standby letter of credit for benefit of the town of Bridgeport, Connecticut, because our customer is, say, a construction firm, and they've won a bid to do 20 sidewalks, right, for the city of Bridgeport in a year. So the city of Bridgeport will go to that construction company and say, all right, you won the bid. We want to get our streets done in a year. You have 20 of them to do. But we want to make sure that before we give you all this money to do the project, that, we have a kind of a safety net behind the project. And this is where a standby letter of credit would come in, because essentially the standby letter of credit is there to stand by in the event that there's a default between both beneficiary and applicant. So the letter of credit, we would issue the letter of credit for our customer, the construction firm, in benefit of the town. And then as the year goes by, let's say that construction firm, I don't know, let's say they went bankrupt or something happened where they ran out of cement or whatever, and they're unable to do the project, then the town of Bridgeport then can draw on that standby letter of credit to us, to M&T Bank, and say, here's the original letter of credit. Here's the draft amount for, say half the amount of the project, because let's say the construction firm did about half the job. And then in that case, the bank would then review the documents to ensure that everything has complied as stipulated in that standby LC, and then pay out the beneficiary, so that there is no, not a complete loss, I guess, is how you can look at it. So that's kind of the purpose of a standby letter of credit. And I just gave one quick example of, and that's probably the most simplistic example. But there are so many other uses. And when I work with the relationship managers and our clients throughout the footprint, I get a number of different scenarios in which standby LCs can be used. So they can be very creative. They sometimes can support the commercial/commerce side, which I will get into in a little bit here. But the kind of beautiful thing about a standby letter of credit is there isn't a whole lot of detail and documents required behind the presentation and the draw for a beneficiary. So that is kind of a benefit there. And then also, it's a more clean cut way for both parties to be aware of what exactly is going on in the transaction. So that's kind of the purpose of what a standby LC would use. So moving on to the commercial side of it. So there's a commercial letter of credit. Commercial letters of credit, they encompass both import and export. And that would cover transactions that are actually involving goods that are being imported or exported from our customer, right? So, for example, we'll take the import letter of credit. So our customer will come to us saying they want to import, say, seafood from Southeast Asia, right? So they got in contact with a vendor in Southeast Asia that they've never really worked with before, but they want to import, I don't know, like shrimp or something, shrimp and scallops. So let's say our vendor is up in Boston, right? So our customer would come to us and they would say, all right, we have this new vendor in Southeast Asia somewhere, and we want to import this. So we're going to fill out the application. So the import letter of credit application that has very specific terms and very specific conditions that the exporter over in Southeast Asia needs to comply with, and they need to get certain documentations called out in that letter of credit in order for payment to be effected, and documents to be released on their side too. So we would work with the client to put all the conditions into their letter of credit, which includes expiry date, ship port of loading and unloading, expiry date, I think I mentioned that already, documents that need to be presented, and in what form, in what fashion, additional conditions that might say, this is just kind of like a silly condition, but like every document needs to have a star in the corner, whatever. So when the documents are prepared over by the Southeast Asian client, and they put their shrimp and scallops on that boat a lot, because they have to ship the goods in order to get that bill of lading, because the bill of lading is part of the required documentation. So they gather all their documentation, and then they send it to their bank over in Southeast Asia, who then talks to us, M&T Bank, via Swift message. It's an authenticated manner. They'll send it to us, the physical documents to us. We get them here. Then we examine the documents to ensure that they comply with it. And then we'll message the bank in that authenticated manner saying, yes, documents comply. We're going to go ahead and issue the payment for the goods. And then we are able to then release the documents to our customer in Boston to then go pick up their freight forward or wherever. Will go to the port with that bill of lading, pick up the goods, their scallops and shrimp, almost like a car title essentially. And they're able to get their goods because the documents were only released upon the bank determining that the documents complied 100% with that import letter of credit and all their terms and conditions. And then, of course, the Southeast Asian client gets their money, which is what they wanted. So that's kind of the cycle of an import letter of credit there, and how it works and how. So on the import letter of credit side, because our client would be working with us, it's more work kind of upfront for our client to do it, because, we'd be going through and indicating every single detail that we want in that letter of credit, to ensure that you get what you want, and then on the flip side, which I'll get into now, is the export letter of credit side. The export letter of credit side, it's more work for the importer over on, say your importer, the foreign importer started the letter of credit and you're the beneficiary. So now you are going to be exporting your goods. So you have to just kind of sit and wait for that letter of credit to be issued by the foreign bank to us. And then we, as the advising bank, will advise the letter of credit to you, saying, New York company, small business New York company A, here's the letter of credit for you. It's in your benefit. Now you have to review it and determine that the terms and conditions are good to go. You then have to prepare your shipment, get those items on a vessel or an aircraft, get that shipping documentation along with all the other documentations that's stated in it, and then present those documents to us. We then do our initial review, then we send it over to the foreign bank, and then they do their full document exam and determination of the documents complying with the letter of credit. And then that's when the payment will be released to us. We then credit you, and then the foreign customer can get their goods that you exported to them. So that one's a little bit like just the flip and reverse of the first one I mentioned, which is the import letter of credit. So that one, you do not need to have any lines of credit margined with us or any cash securitization, because you're the beneficiary, right? So it's in benefit of you. So you're the one getting the money. So that's kind of the flip side of that letter of credit product. I want to touch briefly on the documentary collection product, which is also used for commerce and shipping, importing and exporting. But it's a little bit different because this one is a non-credit product. And this particular documentary collection product would be used when you have a pretty good and routinely established shipping relationship with your foreign vendor, right? So the fees are lower on this one, as opposed to commercial letters of credit, where it could, depending on the dollar amount and the amounts of if there's multiple shipments on it and things like that, it could be a little bit pricier. Documentary collections, they're typically like, for each transaction, like really low, menial, like under 200, like really and that could be for any dollar amount of the transaction. So again, you must be an M&T client, but what's good about this is, as I said, low fees, and there aren't stipulations and additional conditions that need to be met in order for payment to be effected and documents to be released. All what simply needs to happen is we receive those documents that are sent to us. We index them, we scan them for, OFAC to ensure that, there's no high risk names or anything on there. And then we simply inform our client like, hey, we've got a set of documents here. Were you expecting them? And then they'll say, yes, we were. So, you can go ahead and release them and then debit our account. We do all that. And then we send the funds over to the foreign bank, who then credits their client. And then we release the documents to our customer to then get those goods. And then on the flip side, if you're an export collection customer, you're then sending us the documents. We're basically doing the same exact thing on the flip side. So, we would get the documents, we'd send them off, and then we'd await for that authorization for payment to come to us, and then we credit your account. So what would be the main difference? So what I just described, it's like, oh, it's cheaper and less intensive. Like, why wouldn't anyone do that? Well, as I mentioned before, it's really to be used with a very trusted and routinely based vendor that you would use, because there aren't a lot of stipulations around it other than the documents are here. Can we release payment? Yes, no. And if it's not what you were expecting, then, it could get messy. You may not be able to pick up the goods at the port and whatnot. With the letter of credit, it's more, there is more assurance around it because there are such specific variables that need to be met and agreed upon. And the banks are there to also scrutinize those documents to ensure that there is some sort of uniformity followed by that, right? And with these products, the standby LC, the commercial letters of credit, and the documentary collections, they are all governed by the International Chamber of Commerce rules. So each of those products, they have their own subset of rules and guidelines that globally all banks need to follow. So whether or not, we are here we're located here in Buffalo, New York, or our operations group they're actually in Baltimore, Maryland, or, Hong Kong, China, wherever, they're all going to follow the same rules for collections and letters of credit as governed by the International Chamber of Commerce. So that's kind of like the beautiful thing about the uniformity of trade finance and the product set is that, if you were to go to Commerce Bank in Germany or I don't know, Bank of America Scranton, they'd all be following the same rules there for trade finance. So that's kind of a nice thing. Oh, and then here the last part, if you see the banker's acceptance is just basically when the import letter of credit, if it has a time tenor, so as opposed to site. So site meaning if the tenor of the letter of credit is site, meaning that the bank gets the documents, they determine that the documents comply at site is when payment is effected, right? On the flip side, there's a time tenor. So if your tenor is like 30 days from the bill of lading, that's when payment is effective, 30 days from the bill of lading. So if that is the case, the bank will say the documents comply, and then they essentially the bank accepts that tenor, and then they'll put it on their. But it's basically how the bank books the liability, because it's putting it off for 30 days. So just want to explain that that's not really super important, but it's for that short-term payment detail there. So And then I also want to note here, with the documentary collections, when I do speak to our customers and relationship managers, I always kind of, if they're in the market of commerce, importing and exporting, I always ask them how they conduct their business with that. And a lot of the times, they won't mention any trade finance products that they're using. Instead, they're just kind of using an open account method, right? An open account is basically you ship your goods over, you have an email from the foreign customer or your foreign vendor saying, check is in the mail, or wire's on its way, and you're just kind of crossing your fingers and going, okay, good, I sent all my stuff over on that vessel like a month ago, I'm just waiting for my goods, and then you never get it, right? And I mean, I'm hoping no one on the line has ever experienced this, but from my experience in trade finance, I have had a number of clients write to their relationship manager describing what has happened. That I sent my goods over, it's like $100,000 worth of stuff, and they said that they were going to wire it, and they never did. Like, what can you do? And unfortunately, that's, when relationship managers think that the trade finance group can come in and just save the day. And as much as I'd love to do that, unfortunately, we can't really interject ourselves in a transaction that we haven't had any scope of understanding of what's going on. So we don't know if there's documents in there that are considered sanctioned. We don't know if there's names on there that are considered blacklisted names. So that's a situation in which we can't really insert ourselves. There's nothing really we can do. So I just, I'm pretty sure maybe most of you know that on here, maybe you don't. It's just one of those things that I do want to kind of make sure everyone kind of understands the risk of open account. And that's why, the beauty of trade finance products are available for your use, so that if they can help mitigate risk in any way, we're, happy to, engage with you. And I'm here to have that discussion. We can include like a relationship manager in there so that, we can make sure that your transactions are protected, and at least with the oversight of your trusted banker and the International Chamber of Commerce that has a set of guidelines for all the products. So that's kind of like the quick and dirty of trade finance product set. So I guess I'll flip it over to, you can go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay. Before I flip it over to Ben, I just want to talk about some of the kind of the industry discussions that are going on too. So obviously a lot of tariff uncertainty going on, even starting with like last year, with everything going on in geopolitically, there is an opportunity to expand suppliers, right, for our clients. So if they were getting hit hard with one country, maybe that their goods are coming from, this is a good opportunity then to expand into maybe another country where they could get better terms and rates for their goods, and then that be an opportunity for you to use a letter of credit, right? Because it might be a new client, new country, and this is something where a letter of credit could be helping your business there. So with that, it's just a different way. It's a strategic way to manage, company supply chain. So in the past, it might have been like a very set it and forget it, and which is, who doesn't like to, just be comfortable and not have to worry about things. But unfortunately, life has a way of switching and changing things up. So, companies have to get a little strategic and they have to be creative in using and managing their supply chain. So again, letters of credit or documentary collections can be helpful in that space for you. And then talking, if you're, utilizing your foreign vendors, exploring foreign currency and hedging in foreign currency, possibly for better rates. So that's always something to think about too. Like the US dollar is not always going to be the best option for global transactions. So that's something, if, conversations you have with those global vendors of yours to say, like, if there's a better way to maybe do the transaction maybe in the currency of the country, and then the conversion on our side, we can, work with you with rates and things like that. So just something to think about. I mean, it's not always going to be the best answer, but something to think about there. So And then next slide, I think is, yep. That's just our contact information if you have any questions or comments or complaints, hopefully none. And I think with that, I'll turn it back over to Ben.
Great, thank you, Eileen.
Thank you.
I'm gonna bring us home here on the M&T side. I just want to thank everyone for their participation today. I'm gonna thank first. I work on an amazing team with colleagues like Mary and Eileen. They are fantastic experts. We really are proud at M&T to provide a diverse solution of different product sets and knowledge and expertise. As a banker, relationship manager myself, we as a team, we are best as a relationship bank. We can affect transactions and take care of business, but we're best when we help serve our clients in the greater scope of their cash flow cycle, their business cycle, and what's happening specific and custom to their business. We want to be a part of your trusted advisor team. And you should, whether that's M&T or your bank that you're dealing with right now on the line, in your internal circle, you should have your CPA, your attorney, your commercial insurance person, possibly a financial advisor, and a banker, commercial or business banker that can help you navigate many of the changing climate and environment that we're in right now. And there are so many new developments. After the meeting, as Jenny and Mercedes shared, the deck will be shared with our contact information. You don't have to be a client of M&T or even want to be a client of M&T, but we're happy to be just a resource to bounce ideas off of. Some of our relationships have developed over 3, 5, and 10 years, and we're a source of knowledge. And we're happy to share that knowledge to help protect your business, help it thrive, and help it grow. So with that, I just want to thank Mercedes again and Jenny for hosting us. I'll turn it back over to you before we hear from Molly. So thank you, everyone.
Mercedes, we can't hear you.
There you go. I was thanking Ben, Mary, and Eileen for such an informative presentation and for being such a good partners to our program. And now we are going to hear about the funding opportunities available through Empire State Development Global New York Program, presented by Molly Bauer, who is the Deputy Director of this agency. Molly will highlight resources and support available to help New York businesses expand into global markets. Please, Molly, go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercedes, and thank you to the team today for having me on the webinar. I really appreciate the opportunity. So we are Empire State Development. We are the agency of New York State that helps focus on economic development, and my division is Global New York, and we help New York companies export internationally. Next slide. So our main job, as mentioned, is to help companies both small and medium, so under 500 employees, whether you be a service company or you be a manufacturer export across the world. Next slide. We have a team that is based in New York City that covers multiple different programs of ours. And then next slide, we also have regional coverage. So New York State, according to Empire State Development, is divided into 10 regions: Long Island, Mid-Hudson, Southern Tier, North Country, Mohawk Valley, Capital District, Western New York, Finger Lakes, Central New York, Long Island, and New York City. And we have different staff members who help cover all of those and who are the main point of contact for every company based in those regions. Next slide. So why does exporting matter and why is New York involved in it? Well, over 95% of the world's population and 75% of the world's purchasing power lay outside the United States. So if you're only focusing on the US for your product, you're missing a huge market share. Right now, trade represents about 56% of the world's $111 trillion economy. And exporting companies grow sales 24% faster and experience quicker job growth compared to non-exporters. Despite all of this, we find that less than 1% of U.S. small businesses actually export their products and services. Next slide. So how does New York State help fix that? Well, we have 15 international offices through a contract that help New York companies explore opportunities in different markets, and they cover a total of 187 countries. We have an office in Canada, Mexico, the Caribbean, South America, with offices in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. Europe, Israel, the Middle East covered out of the UAE, Africa covered out of an office in South Africa, India, China, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, ASEAN or Southeast Asia covered out of Singapore, and then the Oceania area covered all of Australia. Next slide. And we have three programs, one programming, and then two finance-based to help companies export internationally. And I'll go through them all to kind of show you how the funding opportunities connect into a larger part into New York serving exporter needs. Next slide. So our first program is the Export Marketing Assistance Service, and that's in conjunction with our 15 international offices. The main point of the program is for New Yorkers to find distributors or agents abroad. Our 15 international offices, companies are able to apply to work with one market 3 times a year. So let's say you want to do Bahrain, Bosnia, and Bolivia. You'd work with each of those market reps, and what they would do is they would put together a custom market um, overview of how your product fits into a market. If you're already in the market, they'll talk about how you can expand. And if you're new to the market, they'll talk about how you can enter. It'll also give information such as relevant trade shows for you to attend, different risks to your company in particular going into that market, where your strengths could be, who potential competitors would be as well. But the most important part is that we give you a partner identification search where we give you a list of buyers and potential distributors for your company's product or service. You do have to be headquartered in New York for all of our programs, including the other two that I'm going to discuss. You have to have less than 500 employees, and then you have to have at least 51% of the value add of your product coming out of New York State. So I love our friends in New Jersey. We love our friends across the world. But if you're manufacturing most of your product outside of New York State, you are not eligible for our two of our programs, this being one of them and the other being our Global New York Grant Program. Um, and so why is this program important? Well, it can help companies who are interested in market determine if they're a fit for the market and then help them find points of entry into the market. And which is really unique about us is that we are a no cost service. So anything that you do with us is free of charge. And then we're also able to use this program to help companies then go on trade missions. For instance, we just got back from a trade mission to India. We went to Delhi and we went to Mumbai, and we brought about 7 companies, and they use this export marketing report to help inform them that they should be going on this trip. And we use that information then to set up meetings for them while we were in the market. Next slide. And then once you have this information of if you're a good fit for a market, how can you use some funding programs to help you get there? Well, we have two. The first one is the State Trade Expansion Program, or STEP. Now, this program is funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. So at this point right now, we do not know when additional funding will be coming, but we do have some funding left. It's first come, first serve, and there is a wait list for it at the moment. But what's nice about this program is that for smaller expenses, such as a marketing campaign, having someone create a website that's hosted in a different country, um, exhibiting at a trade show, doing website or language translation for your product or your marketing materials. Different things like that. You are able to get reimbursed 50% up to $10,000 in a program year to help you break into a market. And so you can use that report I talked about earlier to help decide, hey, I got a really great report from Japan. I think I'm going to start launching. I've met some great contacts. Now I need to have a version of my website hosted in Japan. It needs to have that .jp so that Japanese users can feel comfortable using it and all be in Japanese. Then you would use this program to help offset that cost. This program has also helped offset the cost for you to go into a market yourself and do meetings. So, for instance, if you use our EMAS report that I just mentioned and do what we call an EMAS Plus, where you decide you got great feedback and now you want to go into the market and ask our team to set up those meetings for you, we'll set up those meetings and then you could use the STEP program to offset the cost of you traveling to those countries, the hotel stay, things like that. Something to keep in mind for STEP is that because it is funded by the United States, you do have to obey Fly America. So any flights that you took would have to be from a US based air carrier, and they have to be economy flights. You can, of course, upgrade yourself, but we can't reimburse anything besides an economy flight. So let's say you're going to go into market in Germany, you're taking our report, or you're doing a gold key service with the US Department of Commerce, and they're setting up meetings for you as well. You fill out a step application, you put the cost of your flight, you put the cost of your hotel, which has to be underneath the federal government per diem, and then any other expenses. And then we'll let you know which of those are eligible based on the numbers that you're putting in. And then you would have a financial assistance award to help you travel into a new market, which can be really helpful for companies that are trying to just get your foot in and have some exploratory conversations without fully investing right away. The difference between this and our other two programs is because it's federally funded, you do still have to be headquartered in New York, but 51% of your content can come from any state, not just New York. It can't be from Mexico, India, or elsewhere. But if it's in the United States, then that would qualify you for STEP. Next slide, please. Then we have the Global New York Grant Fund. Now, this fund is for larger projects. It can give up to $50,000 in a programmatic year, which is April 1 to the end of March. And this is focused on things such as trade shows. The cost of a trade show to get a booth space could be $30,000, and this would be a program to help that. Next slide, please. Or back slide then. So for this program then, it's two grants of $25,000. And like I said, you can use it for trade shows, but you could also use it to help get your product a CE mark and get different certification to enter into a market that you think would be a fit to you. If you need to do some changes for your product adaptation. This can help if you need to hire a lawyer to help with IP and patent protection abroad as you're going into a new market. This is a way to help get that funded. Both programs are reimbursement based, so you have to spend the money and then you would get the money back. But again, this is for larger things. So when you go to trade shows, it would be, let's say you're going to FEMA, which is a medical show, or Hospitalar, which is a medical show in Brazil. This would include the hotels, economy flights. They don't have to be a U.S. air carrier, but still to be economy. And then the participation of up to 4 staff at a trade show in the booth. You can't just walk trade shows. You actually have to have a physical booth for these programs. And the nice thing about this program in particular is that not-for-profit EDOs and IDAs, economic development organizations that help New York companies export can also apply. So if we have any local governments or local economic development agencies on with us today, this program we can give up to $100,000 reimbursement, 50, which would be a 50% match. So if you spend 200,000, you get 100,000 back for you to take groups of companies across the world on trade missions or to hire consultants who can do training and can help get New York companies export ready. And that's a really unique feature. Next slide. So, as mentioned, Global New York also takes companies on trade missions around the world. We've done some trade missions since these that I'm going to talk about right now. And we have some upcoming ones also, but STEP is used to fund these, which is a really great opportunity to go into the market, test it out, and see if it's a fit without having to spend too much money and knowing that you have a team with you who's there to support you. So, for instance, March of 2024, we went to Australia with 7 companies and had over 50 meetings in Sydney and Melbourne. And some companies also went to the Avalon Air Show the week after. We were there. We set up the hotel. We rented venue space. We set up the meetings and set up extra activities like helping the companies go to Avalon. We went with 9 companies to South America in April and had over 180 meetings for them. Next slide. And then we took a group of companies to the Tokyo Game Show for 7 days in September of last year. Companies used the STEP grant for this, and then a larger not-for-profit called Gumbo that helps New York gaming companies export. Went as well, and they used the Global New York Grant Fund to organize extra activities for the delegation. And then in October, we took 8 companies to Canada to help set up meetings in the market as well. And during this mission, companies signed purchase orders, which is always really exciting. More recently, we did a trade mission to Mexico. In January, we were just in India. In May, we're going to ASEAN, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, and then we're going to the Dominican Republic and Jamaica in June. And all of these things, like I said, we have funding through STEP to help offset the cost of companies going. So if you are interested in participating or traveling and using a third party to set up meetings for you, I recommend reaching out to us and we can talk how we can help your company in particular. Next slide. And that's all I have. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat.
All right. And at this time, we'll invite everyone back on because now is the time to get questions answered. Any questions that you have had throughout this presentation for any of our presenters. And so there was one question, a clarification that I think was important that our Dr. Mercedes Sanchez-Moore, our International Trade Director, raised through chat. So I was seeing it, the rest of you weren't seeing it. And so I would love to have Mary speak about this on camera. Mercedes had asked about flexible working capital, if this does include exporting and importing activities. So Mary, if you could talk about that, we would appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dr. Mercedes asked a great question. So when we think of revolving capital, which we can obtain through standard 7A programs and the MARC program, we could absolutely use revolving capital to support those import and export operational costs that are cyclical. So we like to think of that as about a 90-day payoff turnaround to fulfill those types of client contracts. And when we think of term lending for permanent working capital, those more static or longer term costs associated with import and export operational costs. So think longer term costs like marketing or expenses to engage in a warehouse. Perhaps that's a necessary expense, a lease expense. So cyclical would be centric to revolving, and term lending would be the longer term expenses. But it's absolutely something we can support. Great question. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was very illustrated. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. Our next question, I believe, is for Molly. So this person would like to know, is STEP money reimbursed to the business owner taxable?
Usually not. Usually reimbursements are not taxable, but I can't be sure. So that would be a question if you applied for STEP that one of our team members who manages that program would be able to answer you. But I do not believe reimbursed money is usually ever taxable.
Thank you, Molly. And our next question then, and I believe this one is for you, Molly, is where do we get the applications and documentations you mentioned?
So you can go to our website, global, you can go to our website, global NY, um, at ESD. You can email me, I'm sorry, globalny@esd.ny.gov. And then we can connect you with the person in your region who would be able to navigate you through what programs make the most sense for you. Also, after this webinar, I believed I did share with the SBDC the link to our website, and I think that would be made available to anyone after this as well. But the best bet is to email our team to learn and figure out what program makes the most sense to you before applying.
Yeah, and I would be very happy to actually speak with whoever is trying to apply and just give a little bit of understanding and assistance. And I do know all the reps as well, so I can direct them to the right person.
Thank you. And if we could have all of you drop some emails into the chat, make sure to select everyone so that our attendees can see that. But we would love to be able to have them, if they do have any questions that may be a bit more detailed or, something pops into their mind after the presentation, we would love for them to be able to get in touch with you easily. And those emails will also be included in the slide deck that you will get. So just know that you'll have the contact information, but in case you wanted it now, I wanted to be sure that we got it out to everyone. Okay, now we do have more time for questions. So here, let me check our Q&A box. And we have a question that says, so this person missed part of the presentation, wasn't sure if this was covered. At what point should the SBDC refer clients to ESD for importing or exporting? I think this is one of our own advisors. Many of our clients want to import or export, but most of the time they are not quite ready yet, even if they are assured that they are, but sometimes they do have some things to put in order still. So could you speak to that,
Yeah, so
Mercedes and
oh,
Molly? Yeah.
I just want to be clear on one thing. We do not help with importing,
I was gonna say that.
unfortunately. So we are export only.
Mhm.
If you're looking for importing, ESD New York State does not have any programs, but I'm sure there are other partners out there who could be of help to you.
Actually, I'm the only public agency that provides importing. I did pass the custom broker license exam, and we do also organize webinars and have partners that follow up with those requests. If it's an internal SBDC counselor, I would love, they can contact me, and then I will contact Global New York or address the issue and just tell them who they should contact as well, because there is eligibility criteria for all the grants, and we do know what these eligibility issues are, and I don't want to back them with something that is not truly eligible. That's the only question. But we partner with them. We communicate constantly. We share clients, for 3 years now. So, and I appreciate very much having everybody as a partner. And also the banks are super important. And this topic of international financing, by the way, is very complex. So I'm very happy that we are recording the presentation and people can go over it again, because all these concepts are something that are new for many of the attendees.
Absolutely. And just as a reminder, so the services of the New York Small Business Development Center are offered at no cost. And as Mercedes talked about, we are a fantastic connector with resources. So when you come to us, we're able to help you get in touch with the people throughout the state who can assist you with your international business very well. People like we have on this webinar today. Now, I do want to ask a question to our M&T crew who is here. So if someone is brand new to, this topic of international finance, what is the best way to get started with a bank like yourselves?
Sure, I think we could both take that. Myself and Mary can comment, but just to repeat the question, Jenny, back. So a new business is starting. They're in this arena of both domestic and international business. So they're looking for some guidance on what to do next. Is that
Yeah, so someone who is
sure?
first time going to apply for some sort of product with a bank regarding international finance.
Sure. It's a great question. There's a lot of layers to that. From a guidance and counsel standpoint, typically with getting into the weeds, we'll have an initial consultation. There's no cost to talk to the M&T or any other bank that the client's considering, and having an initial discussion with your bank around your business plan. Hopefully, there's a business plan in place. If there's not, just as you do through the New York Small Business Development Center, there are a number of resources, free and low cost, to help with business plan execution. In addition to that, helping narrow in or zero in on source of revenue, associated expenses with the business startup, and then obviously ongoing expenses and ongoing revenue generation that will tie to creating financial projections. So typically and I can have Mary comment as well. Typically with a startup business, the first year's projections are going to be broken down by month on a spreadsheet or a template, a projections template. And then years 2 and 3 can be broken out just on an annual basis, and those columns will be next to each other. But starting with a business plan, really diving into again sources of revenue and focus, and then looking at financial projections. Our goal in consulting a new business startup is to help that business be successful. So we'll have candid conversations around, hey, have you thought about this angle, or these considerations that maybe you hadn't based on your own initial research. So I'll pause there. Mary, do you want to add anything as well on startup businesses?
Yeah, that was a great summary, Ben. I think the key point there is engage with your lender. It's okay if you might not be ready for lending, but it's important to start those conversations so your lender can advise you what documentation you'll need or how you'll need to best prepare. And we do a great job of involving our partners in the community, like the SBDC, right? To say, hey, I think my SBDC representative that I work closely with can help you with those projections and that business plan. So your lender can guide you through those resources as well. Ben called out a great call out with projections. We'll need 3 years of projections, the first year in that monthly format. So that's a great place to start, especially with a business plan. When it comes to international trade, we would loop in our experts like Eileen. And Eileen, I'd love you to add anything I missed. We'd loop in our experts like Eileen to get involved in the process and ensure we have those educated conversations with the customer on what product fits best. What did I miss, Eileen?
Yeah, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Ben. Yep, exactly what you said there. So I typically would get involved at the stage where, a client's already kind of onboarded. We have the tools in front of us to get started with the conversations in order to get, a letter of credit or documentary collection product involved in your transaction. So, have those conversations with your banker first and foremost. And the folks, the RMs, will be able to then loop me in, and I'll be able to assist with any sort of trade finance needs you may have.
Wonderful. And we actually have a question further on that. We have somebody who is potentially developing two businesses right now, and they would like to know, are there grants or support available to a business in pre-development planning, or does an operating entity need to already exist in order to kind of start having conversations around this?
Again, we talk about eligibility for Global New York funding. You have to be at least 1 year in business. So it is not for startups, not grants. And in regards to funding, the bank should have a criteria in regards to who they can lend when they are starting up. But no grants. I'm sorry. They have to be in assistance for a year minimum and be in the green, meaning covering all the expenses.
Touch
Right.
on SBA lending. We can lend to businesses that are less than 2 years in operation, startups, but it'll be important to understand what that lending is needed for, right? So those startup expenses. So we look at that business plan and understand, all right, the startup expenses are for the first 3 months of rent, the fit up of the building, right? Maybe you're doing some painting, some tiling to get the space in the shape that you'd like it to be in. Hiring your first round of employees, whatever that might be. SBA financing can help day one, and that business plan and projections will be crucial to getting there. But as Dr. Mercedes said, no grants in the SBA space either. This is all funding based, and cash flow is looked at to ensure ability to pay.
Thank you. And as a reminder, the SBDC is a fantastic resource when you are still in that pre-startup phase, the ideation phase, figuring things out. We have lots of advisors who have helped many businesses figure out exactly how to get started and what exactly they'll need, how they might need to look at different issues regarding their specific businesses. Like this attendee said, they had potentially two businesses, so they can be a great sounding board as you start to get going with a business idea and work into that startup phase. All right, another question that we have today, we have someone who is specifically in clothing and would need to find textile manufacturers in the United States. So for any of those who are here today, is there a list, a resource, or a person who specializes in this industry within your offices?
That is not related to the webinar of today. I will be happy to entertain that question. There is directory that SBA just put out with suppliers from the United States. Okay, but that is related to finding vendors, to finding suppliers.
Hmm,
And
got it.
niche, in the United States, Thomas.net, for example, could be a directory that they could utilize. And also the business library at the New York Public Library, the business center, should be a great resource for them.
Fantastic. And I will also mention this might be a great question for our Research Central staff. We have 4 information specialists who are here to do precisely that type of inquiry for different businesses, different things that they might need to know for starting their business, finding vendors, all sorts of things that a business owner might be interested in knowing. So again, those services are free for NYSBDC clients. If you are interested in engaging our Research Central, talk to an NYSBDC advisor who can then submit a request to our Research Central and get you some more information on what you're interested in knowing about. All right. I think we have gotten all of the questions. So let's see, we can go ahead and wrap for today. So what I first want to say is thank you so much to all of you for being here today and sharing this information with our attendees. We are very grateful. And as a reminder, we will be sending out a link to the recording and a PDF copy of the slides, so you have this information to review. I know it was a lot all at once today, as Mercedes talked about earlier, so we like to, whenever possible, get that recording and the slides to our attendees, and you can reference back as you continue to further consider what your business might need. We will have a survey that will show on screen, and if you have a few minutes, we would love to have your feedback on how you think things went today, as well as further topics on which we can assist you with our educational opportunities here at the New York Small Business Development Center. And so with that, I will turn it over to all of you for our parting words today to our attendees. So let's start with Dr. Sanchez-Moore.
Thank you, Jenny. I just wanted to thank the presenters again for sharing this valuable expertise and insights, and especially for your partnership. We truly appreciate you coming to our webinars. Also, we make constant referrals to your services and back you with questions. So thank you. Thank you so much for being there for the New York SBDC clients. Thanks.
Wonderful. M&T team, anything that you'd like to say?
I can go first, then I'll pass it to Maria and then Eileen. I just want to thank everyone for their participation today. Great questions, specifically to Dr. Mercedes and Jenny. Thank you for having us. Just a quick note to all of the business owners that are on the line with us. Planning is so important. Any work that you do up front, whether that's projections, going into a new market, both domestic or international, talk to your bankers, talk to your trusted advisors. They can help guide you, and wishing you the best of luck in the rest of 2026. Mary?
Perfect remarks, Ben. I'll echo thank you both Dr. Mercedes and Jenny for having us. It was such a phenomenal group today. And to all the small business owners on the line, congratulations wherever you are in your journey. And we're here to help. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to hear from each and every one of us.
Yes. Eileen, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, just thank you everybody for attending. Thank you, Jenny, Dr. Mercedes, everybody, just echoing everyone on the call. I had a wonderful time, meeting you guys and just getting the opportunity to talk about trade finance and how we can possibly help.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Molly?
Just thank you to the SBDC team to having Global New York participate. Thank you so much, and to M&T and to every participant, and proud to be a great partner with the SBDC, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you again to all of you, and we will shut down the webinar. And again, if you have a few moments to fill out that survey, we appreciate your feedback. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. Bye-bye.
You as well.